Hey, I want to read a familiar verse to you that has a serious warning in it, and it's a familiar verse. So you might have heard it a lot, but not a lot of attention is paid to the tail end of it. So we miss the warning, and I don't think we take we take it as serious as it is. So it is about obedience and disobedience, and it's in 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 22. And this is Samuel talking to King Saul. Who was the first king of Israel. Um, Verse 22. But Samuel replied, "What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to His voice? Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice." That's the familiar verse. Everybody, we know that, right? We quote that all the time. Obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams. Here's the part we don't pay attention to. Verse 23. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the Lord, He has rejected you as king. We quote that verse, that piece in verse 22. Obedience is better than sacrifice, but we don't get to verse 23. Disobedience or rebellion is equivalent to witchcraft. Equivalent to witchcraft. We don't take disobedience that serious. We think, okay, we can either listen to God as believers in Jesus Christ. We can either listen or not, and we be lukewarm and on the fence about stuff, and that's no, the disobedience is evil. It's equivalent to witchcraft. Proof. Here's the proof, and it's all in 1 Samuel. After Saul disobeyed, God rejected him as king, right. So Saul goes. Saul is tormented with later on. Saul is tormented with an evil spirit, right. He's tormented so much that he needs he needs uh, to find someone to play music, worship music. He's I think it's with a stringed instrument. They find David, right? Then who just so happened to be the anointed as the next king of Israel. He's the one who God's chosen, a man after my own heart. He was a shepherd at the time, but he was also a poet. He wrote poetry. He wrote music. He played music. David was very passionate, very compassionate, very Renaissance man, if you will, man of many gifts. And he was a warrior, a fighter. But what God said about him is that he's a man after my own heart. So after God rejects Saul for his disobedience, He chooses David. But Saul is tormented with an evil spirit, right? He can't rest. He can't get peace. He needs somebody to play. So the people around him say, let's find somebody to play for you whenever this tormenting spirit comes upon you. So they find David, and David plays for him, and it eases his anxiety, the torment that he's experiencing from the evil spirit. That side note, worship music can relieve what you're going through mentally, the distress that you're going through mentally, the distress that you're going through emotionally and even spiritually. Worship music has that power. So yeah, that's a freebie. It's not the point, but it's the extra. It's extra. So yeah, he's tormented. He's tormented with an evil spirit. Disobedience is equivalent to witchcraft. I'll go deeper. Later on, Samuel passes away. Samuel is a prophet, right, to the kings. And he was actually a judge, the last judge of Israel, and he was a priest. So he served all three offices or roles. He dies. Saul. That's how Saul hears from God, from the prophet. That's common. You'll see that a lot in throughout Samuel and Kings. And throughout the world, throughout history, really, really, people in power, if they're wise, they want to hear from God, and if they can't for themselves, they have a person who can, a prophet. So yeah, Saul, Samuel, he dies. Saul is about to go into battle, right? And but before he does, he wants to get some advice from God. He can't get it through any casting of lots or any dreams or anything. He not no through no prophets. So what he does is he resorts to witchcraft. He resorts to finding a medium. He told it he told the people around him, find me somebody who could speak to the dead, a necromancer, or the Bible calls it medium, or a familiar spirit. People who with familiar spirits. In other words, simply put, it's a person who consults with the dead or communicates with the dead. That's witchcraft. That's evil. And here's another side note, not the point, but a good side note. This is why it's dangerous to worship our ancestors, to worship and try to communicate with our dead loved ones. We love them. We love our loved ones. We love the people who have passed. We honor our ancestors and everything, people who came before us. But it is very dangerous. It's evil and it's witchcraft to consult and try to communicate and connect with the dead, because it's you don't know who you're connecting with, and a lot of times you're opening the door to evil spirits, right? Familiar spirits. Familiar, yeah, they're going to be familiar with you. Evil has been around way longer, so they would know your family history. They would know all kinds of things about you. You thinking that you're communicating with a loved one, but what you're really communicating it with is an evil spirit that knows your family history and can tell you any lie just to get access to your life, to your mind, and torment you. That's another freebie, but it's an important one. Yeah, ancestry worship and all that stuff is witchcraft. But so anyway, back to the point. Saul, look, disobedience is equivalent to witchcraft. Saul, no wonder he resorted to witchcraft. It stemmed back from his disobedience. Even the medium was mad at him because he had to trick her. He had to disguise himself. And I'm gonna give you the verse so you can read that whole chapter. It's some good stuff in the Bible. Y'all really need, like, you should read the Bible. But I'm gonna give you that whole verse so you can go back and read. I'm gonna give you all the verses that I'm talking about. But the medium was upset because she knew who he disguised himself, so she didn't know who he was at first. She wouldn't have done it if she knew he was a king, an anointed king. Even though God had removed his spirit from Saul, he was still anointed. And she didn't know that he had her trying to communicate with the spirit or communicating with a prophet of the Lord, right? So she was afraid when she found out when she did it, but he told her to go on and proceed. So anyway, I'll give you those that scripture. You can read it for yourself. It's interesting, real interesting, and a good read. But the moral of the story is, the point is, don't consort with evil by disobedience. Just obey. Obey God. If God is telling you to do something, he's urging you or prodding you to do something, do it. Obedience is better than sacrifice. It's better than all the things that you think, all the big things you think you can do for God, and sacrifice to him, and you serve and you sing or you preach or do whatever. Obey him. That's what he wants, right? That pleases God. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Disobedience is equivalent to evil. It's equivalent to witchcraft. All right, that's all I had. Oh no, I'm sorry. the verses. Yeah, so 1 Samuel, I read from 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 22 through 23. That's disobedience is rebellion is equivalent to witchcraft. 1 Samuel 18 chapter 18 verse 10 through 11 is the tormenting spirit that Saul had. It mentions the tormenting spirit. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verses 14 through 23 that's when Saul had the tormenting spirit, and David played the harp. I believe it was the harp. He played the harp for him, to ease that spirit, tormenting spirit. And then 1 Samuel chapter 28, the whole chapter is where Saul goes and tries to find the medium, to connect with Saul, or Samuel, who was dead. All right.